Welcome, settle in. Let your breath slow and your thoughts drift like ripples across a still morning sea. Tonight, we travel to a place that echoes across centuries, a city carved from marble and philosophy, warmed by the Mediterranean sun, and burdened with the paradox of brilliance and brutality. Tonight we wander through the winding streets and smoky courtyards of ancient Athens. You may have heard of Athens as the birthplace of democracy, of philosophy, of theatre and art. But behind the monuments and the myths, behind the shining names of Plato and Pericles, life for most Athenians was anything but glorious. It was a city of sharp sunlight and harder shadows, where the ideals of the mind clashed daily with the grit of survival. In the quiet of this evening, we will walk among them, not the philosophers or statesmen just yet, but the ordinary citizens, those who worked, who sweated, who struggled beneath the weight of expectation and stone. We'll explore what it truly meant to live there, and why, if you were thrust into their sandals, you might not last a single day. So close your eyes if you like, let your imagination take hold gently. The stones of the agora are warm beneath your feet. The air smells of olive oil, dust, and the faint sting of smoke from a nearby brazier. Welcome to Athens, brilliant, chaotic, exhausting Athens. Let's begin. Imagine waking before the sun, not because you enjoy the early hours, but because your livelihood depends on the fragile coolness of dawn. The cicadas are already stirring in the olive trees as you rise from a straw-stuffed mattress. You're not in one of the grand homes near the Acropolis, no. Yours is a modest dwelling of sun-baked mud brick, clustered with others along a dusty lane that rarely sees a breeze. You are a citizen, yes, and that gives you certain rights. You can vote in the assembly, serve on juries, speak your mind, at least in theory. But in practice, your days are dictated by necessity. You are poor, and that means your survival hinges on your labor. The work is relentless. If you're a potter, your hands are already calloused and split from the clay, the kiln's heat a constant companion. If you labor in the fields, it's worse. Under the blistering Attic sun, you stoop over rocky soil, coaxing olives or barley from a land that gives little without protest. There are no work breaks as we know them, and no weekends to rest. There's only the rhythm of toil broken by the ache in your knees and the promise of a meal, if you've earned one. Water must be hauled in clay amphorae from public fountains, shared with neighbors. Food is simple: porridge, black bread, maybe some salted fish if luck permits. Meat is rare, a festival luxury. Wine is plentiful, but always watered down, too precious to waste in full strength and too dangerous if drunk pure under the sun. And yet, the expectations remain. You're meant to be politically engaged, to show up at the Pnyx, the open-air hill where citizens gather to debate matters of law and war and taxes. But imagine standing in that crowd, exhausted, sunburned, your stomach half empty, listening to aristocrats argue over naval strategy and grain tariffs. You can vote, but how much can you really influence when rhetoric is a weapon sharpened by education you were never afforded? The city itself is alive, but not always kind. The streets are unpaved and narrow. Human waste is tossed into alleys. Dogs roam freely, some friendly, some not. The agora, the bustling heart of Athenian commerce, is loud, crowded and chaotic. You must shout to be heard over merchants, philosophers, slaves and street performers. Everyone is selling something: ideas, olives, gossip. At home, your wife, if you're married, rarely leaves the house. Women's roles are tightly bound. She manages the household, raises the children, weaves. Privacy is minimal. Most of your life plays out in public, in the bathhouse, at the market, at the temple, or on the streets. Sickness is common, medicine rudimentary. You might pray to Asclepius or offer incense, but infection is still a death sentence more often than not. Dental pain, infections, fevers, there is little relief. And the city is noisy, always noisy. The clang of blacksmiths, the bleating of goats, the endless footsteps over worn stone. The theatre may offer distraction, the festivals a rare reprieve, but leisure is for the wealthier classes. For you, rest is something stolen, not granted. Even at night there is little peace. Oil lamps flicker faintly, casting long shadows on the walls. The air is close and heavy, and tomorrow it begins again, before the sun, beneath the same unyielding sky. Yet still there's pride. You are Athenian, and in rare, fleeting moments you might glimpse the grandeur woven into your struggle, the sound of a flute echoing in the evening air, the murmur of poetry recited in the street. A moment at the agora where someone listens to your words. Small, fragile victories in a life defined by endurance. That was the life of the ordinary Athenian citizen, not the general, not the orator, not the playwright, just a man with cracked hands and sunburned shoulders, trying to live with dignity beneath the gaze of marble gods. Now, as the dust settles from another imagined day, we turn our attention to another figure, not a laborer but a thinker, one who walked these same streets, drank from the same wells, and dared to question the very truths his city held sacred. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't build temples, win battles, or write plays. He wandered, he asked questions, and that, in the end, was enough to get him killed. Imagine him now, Socrates, barefoot, cloaked in a simple garment, pausing in the marketplace to question a young man on the nature of virtue. His voice is calm, persistent. He doesn't lecture. He probes. What is justice? What is courage? His face is weathered, his beard unkempt. He looks like a man who belongs on a farm, not in a debate. But the mind inside him is sharp, unyielding, endlessly curious. He is both loved and loathed. To some, he is a gadfly buzzing around the state, biting at its complacency. To others, he is a menace, corrupting the youth, undermining the gods, challenging the very fabric of Athenian society. His method is simple, almost childlike. Ask questions until the answers reveal themselves to be hollow. He doesn't claim to know more than anyone else. In fact, he often claims to know nothing at all. But in exposing others' ignorance, he becomes a mirror the city would rather not look into. And the city, weary and scarred, is no longer in a mood to indulge philosophers. The year is 399 BCE. The Peloponnesian War has ended not long ago. Athens, once the pride of the Aegean, is humbled, defeated by Sparta, her navy broken, her power dimmed. The democracy has been shaken, and trust is brittle. In such a climate, doubt is dangerous. Socrates is brought to trial. The charges? Impiety, failing to honor the city's gods, and corrupting the youth. But beneath those accusations lies something deeper: discomfort. Socrates is not just questioning individuals, he's questioning the soul of the polis. The courtroom is not like those of today. It's open air, held before hundreds of jurors, ordinary male citizens chosen by lot. There are no lawyers. Socrates speaks for himself, with calm defiance. He does not beg. He does not flatter. He speaks of the divine voice that guides him, his daimonion, and of his duty to the truth. He compares himself to a horsefly, stinging the sluggish horse that is Athens, forcing it to wake. And he warns, "If you silence me, you may never find another like me." The jury is not swayed. The vote is close, but the verdict is clear. Guilty. Now comes the punishment phase. Socrates, as custom dictates, is asked what he thinks he deserves. He could suggest exile, a fine, anything to save his life. Instead, with a hint of dry irony, he suggests he should be rewarded, perhaps maintained at public expense for his service to the city. The jurors are not amused. They sentence him to death. In prison, he waits for the execution. Days pass. His friends visit. They plead with him to escape. They have bribed the guards, arranged a way out, but Socrates refuses. He has lived according to principle, and he will die by it. And so, one evening, as the light dims in the cell, he takes the cup of hemlock. It is bitter and quiet. He walks a little until his legs feel heavy, then lies down, calmly describing the numbness as it creeps upward. His final words before the silence takes him are oddly mundane. Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius, pay the debt. A rooster to the god of healing. A strange final gesture, perhaps a sign that death to him was a kind of cure, a release from the illness of the world. Socrates left behind no writings. Everything we know comes from others, his student Plato, his admirer Xenophon. But his death etched itself into the conscience of Athens, a reminder that even the most enlightened society can grow intolerant of its own reflection. And so he became a martyr of the mind, a quiet warning passed down through the centuries, that truth is often inconvenient, and wisdom, though gentle, can shake empires. Let us leave him now, still, calm, unafraid, and turn instead to something that lay hidden beneath the sea for centuries, a different kind of enigma. Not a man, but a machine. Ancient, impossibly complex, and far ahead of its time. Now drift with me beneath the waters of the Aegean Sea. Let the sun fade overhead, replaced by the hush of blue depth and the slow sway of currents. Among the rocks and silt lies a wreck, ancient wood, bronze statues eroded to ghostly forms, and within it, something unlike anything else recovered from the ancient world. It was found by accident in 1901 by sponge divers near the small Greek island of Antikythera. They were searching for sea sponges, not relics, but stumbled upon a Roman-era shipwreck laden with cargo, amphorae, coins, marble figures. Among these treasures was a corroded lump of bronze and wood, greenish and fused, almost unrecognizable. It looked like debris, but inside this seemingly insignificant fragment was a secret. Over time, through decades of study, cleaning, and modern scanning techniques, scholars uncovered something astonishing. Gears. Interlocking, precisely cut gears. Bronze cogs with fine teeth, layered and arranged with a sophistication no one had ever attributed to ancient technology. This object came to be known as the Antikythera mechanism. Imagine a shoebox-sized device housed in wood with dials and inscriptions, and a series of gears so intricate they would not be matched until the rise of clockwork in medieval Europe over 1,000 years later. It is believed to have been created in the 2nd or possibly even 3rd century BCE. Its purpose? Not warfare, not worship, but knowledge. The Antikythera mechanism was, quite possibly, an ancient computer, a machine designed to calculate and predict astronomical positions and eclipses. With the turn of a crank, it could show the position of the sun, the moon, the phases of the moon, and likely the 5 known planets. One dial even tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. This was not a toy. This was a scientific instrument of staggering complexity. And yet it vanished from historical memory. No texts describe it, no copies survived. It appeared, fully formed, and disappeared again, lost to time and tide. Who made it? Some suggest a workshop inspired by Archimedes, or perhaps someone from the school of Hipparchus or Posidonius. Others propose that it came from Rhodes, where astronomical knowledge flourished, but we do not know. Its maker remains nameless, faceless, a whisper behind gears. Think of the implications. For centuries, we believed ancient peoples gazed at the heavens with awe but little precision. And yet here is proof that they not only observed but calculated, predicted, engineered a device to bring the sky's rhythms down to earth. How many more such objects lie beneath the waves waiting to be discovered? How many were melted down in war, forgotten in fires, buried in collapsed buildings? And perhaps more hauntingly, why did this knowledge disappear? The answer may lie not in conspiracy or catastrophe, but in fragility. Ancient learning was not institutionalized the way it is today. It lived in scrolls, in minds, in singular devices. A single scribe's death, a single library fire, and a century of progress could be lost. Invention was always dancing on the edge of oblivion. The Antikythera mechanism, then, is both a marvel and a melancholy, a glimpse into what might have been, a world where the stars could be mapped with bronze wheels, where time itself was measured in the slow elegance of gear against gear. And now we leave it where it lay, beneath layers of salt and secrecy, and return to the surface, from the quiet precision of machines to the pleasures and performances of the living. Let us now ascend into the world of the Athenian elite, not the laborers or the thinkers, but those who lounged in shaded courtyards, who reclined on embroidered cushions, sipping wine sweetened with honey as the night buzzed with riddles, music, and subtle games of influence. It begins with oil. Not just any oil, but the rich, fragrant olive oil of Attica, warmed slightly, poured from a narrow-necked vessel onto your bare shoulders. A slave massages it into your skin as you recline, not seated but lying on a couch arranged around a low table. The light is soft, oil lamps flickering gently against the pale walls, casting shadows that sway with the movement of hands and breath. You are attending a symposium, not a public gathering, not a debate in the agora or a theatre packed with voices. This is private, select, the domain of citizens of means and education. Here, in the cool interior of a wealthy Athenian home, beneath painted ceilings and hung tapestries, the cares of daily life are pushed aside, for a while. The evening begins with ritual. Libations are poured to the gods, Dionysus above all, the god of wine and transformation. Guests take their places lying on their left sides, propped on pillows, feet tucked beneath embroidered woolen throws. Cups are filled, but not freely. A symposiarch is chosen, a master of ceremonies who determines the dilution of the wine, the rhythm of drinking, the pace of the night. Too weak and the gathering feels stiff, too strong and dignity slips too early. Balance is everything. The wine is mixed in a large crater, often richly decorated. Slaves carry it, pouring into kylixes, broad, shallow cups. The wine smells of resin, herbs, perhaps even a trace of honey. It is not sipped but savored slowly as conversation turns from greetings to games. There are riddles now and wordplay. A challenge is issued. Can you define justice in a single sentence, or match the verses of Homer with your own improvised poetry? Laughter bubbles up, not loud, but knowing, sharp, practiced. This is a performance too. Wit is a form of power here. Music floats softly in the background. A flute, perhaps, played by a hired musician, not center stage, just a thread woven into the evening. Sometimes a lyre, sometimes a quiet voice singing of gods and heartbreak. There are entertainers, too, dancers, acrobats, or women skilled in song and clever speech called hetairai. Unlike most Athenian women, they are educated, and in this space their presence is both ornament and challenge. They may flirt, provoke, or join the conversation, but always within invisible boundaries. The symposium is not an equal gathering. It is carefully curated, layered with unspoken rules. And always, beneath the laughter and wine, runs the current of power. Politics is never far from the couch. One guest whispers about a new alliance being formed. Another drops a subtle insult masked in metaphor. A third boasts of his family's naval contracts, his cousin's place on the council. Even here, in silks and perfumes, the city breathes. The food is delicate. Honeyed figs, roasted chickpeas, a paste of garlic and cheese, dried fish wrapped in vine leaves. Nothing too heavy. The focus is on the mind, not the stomach. Some symposiums turn rowdy. The wine overflows, the riddles fade into boasting, voices rise, songs turn bawdy, but others stay poised, even into the late hours. Here, philosophy may creep in, gently. Someone might quote Anaxagoras. Someone else brings up the soul. And in the corner, the servants wait, silent, nearly invisible, trained to slip between guests without notice. They refill cups, sweep crumbs, remove empty trays. Their lives are shaped by obedience, their presence taken for granted. In this gathering of ideas and indulgence, they move like shadows, As the night deepens, the lamps dim further, the air is warm and fragrant, conversation slows, stretching into murmurs, the last cup is raised, the final toast made. Not loudly, but with a soft formality. To wisdom, to friendship, to the gods. Then one by one guests depart, some swaying, some quiet and thoughtful. The host remains, staring into the flickering pool of the crater, wondering perhaps which words will linger, which alliances have shifted, which ideas have taken root in the vine-soaked soil of the evening. And so ends the symposium, not just a party, but a performance of power, intellect and identity. A space where the elite of Athens shaped themselves and each other under the gentle pressure of wine and watchful eyes. As we leave this room of murmured riddles and sweetened figs, we step back from the past, from the laborers beneath the sun, the philosopher in his cell, the wreck beneath the sea, and the courtyards of quiet influence. Now, let us return together to the stillness of the present, and now, as the echoes of the past grow softer, we return gently to the comfort of the present. You've walked the sun-cracked streets of Athens, felt the weight of clay and sweat in your hands, and stood among the crowds where voices clashed like shields. You've listened to a quiet man stand firm in the face of death, unmoved by fear or fury. You've descended into the sea, where time slowed and bronze wheels whispered secrets in silence. And you've reclined in shadowed chambers, where words danced like candlelight across the faces of the thoughtful and the powerful. This then was Athens, not just a city of marble ruins and famous names, but a living, breathing place, uneven, complicated, noble, and deeply flawed. A city of labor and luxury, of inquiry and injustice, of fleeting pleasures and eternal questions. The Athenians were not so different from us. They worked, worried, dreamed, they loved and lost, argued and aged. They sought meaning in gods, in beauty, in reason, in the shape of the stars. And though centuries have passed, their footprints remain, not just on broken stones, but in the shape of our words, our systems, our thoughts. Their democracy, imperfect and exclusive, still casts a shadow over our own. Their questions, so old, still ring true. What is justice? What is a good life? What do we owe each other? But now, the voices of the past grow faint once more. The sun has long since set over the Acropolis. The workshops are quiet, the courts are empty, the sea is still, and the city sleeps. So too, perhaps, should you. Let your breath match the rhythm of distant waves. Let the marble colonnades fade into moonlight. Let the warm dust of Athens settle behind closed eyes. You are safe now, far from the noise, the questions, the stone. Let the past rest, and with it, your thoughts. Until next time, good night.